The NXL Atlantic City Open was held this past weekend in Atlantic City. Wow, what a finish. Welcome everyone to my channel. We're going to discuss and review the second event of the NXL season, the Atlantic City Open. Hello everyone, my name's Craig and I'm the host of Old Guy Paintball. And all I can say is, did you watch that tournament? Because it was pretty interesting. But it had its good and not so good moments. And we're going to talk about that this week. First of all, congratulations to Paintball Fit on another astounding victory in the NXL Pro Division. They have now won 3 tournaments in a row dating back to World Cup last year and joined Red Legion like last year in a back-to-back tournament win. This was not an easy win for them. They did have their little bit of struggles in the preliminary rounds in the round-robin section, but when it came time for the brackets on Sunday and when it got down to when it really meant, they stepped up, did their business, and won a phenomenal victory in overtime over the Tauntaun FSU team. Now, I know that there are some people that are a little bit upset with the overtime and how it was done, but like in many sports, there really isn't a whole lot of options to how they can settle this. You know, it came down to the fact that it was one-on-ones, and they basically just bested the Tauntauns, and, you know, guess what? Better team won, better player came up when the time was needed, and that's what happened. Now, some are claiming that had the weather been nice, the Tauntauns would have won this event. It did start to rain on Sunday morning and into the afternoon, and the field conditions did come into play, but unfortunately, that's paintball. Sometimes we don't always get perfect weather, and being able to handle changing conditions and coming through is huge. But once again, congratulations on a very hard-fought and well-earned victory to Paintball Fit. But let's talk about some of the other things that went on. First of all, Red Legion, X Factor, and Baltimore Arsenal all went through the group play undefeated. That was kind of a shocker. I really wasn't expecting those teams to go through, but there were 3 teams that did go undefeated. There were lots of 2-2, and of course a few 1-3 teams, and that kind of rounded out, which is kind of what you expect at this point. The fact that the layout wasn't really released until about a week before the event, I think benefited some of these more experienced teams who were prepared to deal with on a short notice and getting ready for this tournament. It seemed that did help. Very similar to what happened last year when they had an unreleased field. Better teams who know how to prep and break it down quickly seem to do pretty well in this event. One of the things, as I have to say I was shocked, was Royal City Sea Dogs upset Seattle Uprising. I believe it was 7-4 in the first match. And that was a shocker because Seattle Uprising made the Sunday crowd. So that's a big feather in the cap to Royal City Sea Dogs. But they lost, I believe, the next 3. And then they lost close to Red Legion 5-4. So they seem to be coming up as a team and growing, which is a good sign. Still early in the season, but they are definitely showing some improvements. And I'm thinking they can very easily go 2-2 or 3-1 before the end of the year and make a Sunday show if they continue on the course they are going. But with that, the other flip side, the other expansion team, Leverage, continued to struggle. They just looked way outclassed. They looked like a very rookie team in the pro division, making a lot of mistakes. And honestly, I think they had a couple mercy rules put on them. They're just not looking good right now. And I know it's only 2 sets in, but if they don't turn around here in the next event, I think they're starting to play for relegation again. They're just looking like they're struggling badly. And you know, it's not looking good for them right now. So hopefully they can either get a couple veteran players or they can fix some of their issues. But if they don't, they're starting to slide pretty quickly. Also, Paintball Fit, AC Diesel. They seem to be a little scrapping going on. Are they headed for some future grudge matches? Paintball Fit is the old AC Dallas of a couple years ago in the NXL who got relegated. Basically went down to semi-pro, reorganized, and pulled it all together. Went undefeated in semi-pro and got back into the NXL Pro division. And they both play out of roughly the same area in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So there might be a little bit of tension going on about who is the better team in that area. So I think we have a potential of seeing some grudge match going on. Kind of similar to what happened to some teams in the old days of the NXL and the Pro Paintball. So this could be good to see some really good matches coming up out of these two squads in the future. Also, one of the things I thought that was interesting is there were several close, 1-2 point margins of victories in a lot of matches that I watched, but there were several what I could call blowout / mercy rules. This is just kind of getting me a little concerning that it seems that there's been a real big disparity between some of these teams. And that might hurt the pro division a little bit. It's one thing to see the same teams constantly in there and the other teams struggle, but we're seeing some of the more classic teams of the NXL like Infamous and Heat struggling. And even the Hurricanes, which are up and coming, now they're struggling, but they also lost their head coach, Mike Bianca, to Dynasty. And I think that's hurt them as they kind of regroup. Ironmen are continuing to struggle. And of course, there's several other teams that just seem to have not gotten on track this year. So I think that there's going to be some moves coming up with some of these teams as they start to maybe adjust rosters for the next few events, trying to find maybe, a little bit of magic to make it work coming up. But really, after this next event, we'll start to see who is kind of starting to rise and who's kind of starting to settle down towards the bottom and see how that plays out towards later in the year. But overall, I thought it was a really good event. The weather was good on Friday and Saturday, and then the rains came in on Sunday. But like we've said, that's kind of paintball. You never know what you're going to get. It's not always great. Still, surely a whole lot better than what we've had in Texas the past few years. I thought overall the event was fairly well run. It looked like the refereeing was pretty decent. There wasn't a lot of controversy out there. A few things, and there always will be. But overall, from what I saw and when I watched, I thought that, it wasn't bad other than some, really good matches and some really just poor matches where teams were just dominated. And the only other thing I thought that was really bad was when they shot the aerial view, I thought the field looked a little bit in disrepair or just didn't look like what a pro paintball field should have looked like. I think that they have to start looking into this, that if they know there's going to be an event somewhere, they really need to make sure that the pro field is either painted, lack of a better term, or they really put some effort into making sure they have a decent grass field. There was no logo painted on it this time. I think this is because of how the setup was. But the field just looked at times a little bit rough, and it just doesn't give a good image for paintball. I know there's been some talk in the past about should the NXL consider going to a turf field for the pro field to make it look cleaner and better. I don't know how feasible that is. But, yeah, it just didn't look that great. I haven't had a chance to see any reviews about what players said about the field conditions. But overall, I think a lot of people like the venue. I like the fact that it's an old airport. There's a runway, so when they set up for the trade show type of thing, there's a solid concrete or asphalt walkway that if it does rain, it doesn't get muddy and it doesn't get wore down. So there are people who do like Atlantic City for that reason. But a lot of vendors, a really good showing. Again, I don't know what the point of only one stand is at the pro field. I really think they need to bring the have 2 sets of stands and try to expand to get more people to watch it. Or they might want to consider going to a slightly cheaper, maybe pay scale to get more people to watch the tournament. But other than that, I don't think it was overly a bad tournament. I think they did a pretty good job for the second one and having it at this time of year. But once again, congratulations, Paintball Fit and to the NXL for a decent event. I thought it went off really well. And if you have any comments, put them down below, what you thought of this tournament. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming content. And with that, I'll see you on the paintball field soon.